we raised so many points in our last video that we almost had to toss a coin and think, which one will we follow?
Yes. So we've decided
Yes.
to discuss from the position of examiner and a
Yes.
Stedford judge, competition
Yes.
judge, and someone who's done a lot of exams and a Stedfords and
Yes.
compositions,
Yes.
competition. So the judge and the victim.
Yeah, this book here, Confident Music Performance, I actually wrote after a stint examining in country towns, coastal Queensland. And it's very pressured. You have to get yourself to the airport, get there, you're in a hire car trying to read. In those days it was tiny little photocopied maps, now we do have satellite now. But it used to be so stressful getting there on time and finding the venue, and then you've got to run absolutely on time, and if somebody has an asthma attack or something, that, you know, the meltdown that they just can't go on, you're losing time, then we might have the person who thinks they can have second try or third try at scales, and you try that in a chromatic scale and you're losing already 2 minutes. And you'll notice the schedule says 8:59 until 9:05 or something. Well, that's a bit short. They'd have to play fast until 9:15.
So you have an excerpt from your books
Yes.
regarding competitions and what you tell
Yes.
your students
Yes.
when they, because and it took me a long time as someone who's done a lot of competitions and won.
Yes.
But not necessarily, and also have not won, and
Yes.
is that an exam and a competition
Yes.
is a shot in time. It's just a single point in time, and it's not that you're better than the next person. It's
Yes.
just that in that particular point in time, you played like that. And in that particular point in time, this adjudicator or judge or examiner thought about what your playing was.
Yes.
That point in time.
Yes. It is true, and going to the competitions, because a lot of my students are about to have their chance at Stedfords, and I do try to take the pressure off by saying, I'm proud of you, whatever happens, if you've gone in, you've practiced, prepared, presented, and you've done your best, I'm proud of you. If you get a place, that's the icing on the cake. And I try to defuse that, oh, I've got to win. But as an adjudicator myself, I've built up a system over the years where I'll be making highlights on potential winners, and pretty quickly dismissing ones that aren't going to get there at all.
Because there are some things that adjudicators can say that can be quite damaging to the student. When I was at the Royal College of Music, I found that everybody was really, really tough on me. Although they were probably really, really tough on everyone.
Yes.
But this wasn't a competition, it was a performance in the main auditorium at the Royal College of Music, and I was playing the Weber Grand Duo Concertante,
Yes.
which for me is a show-off piece.
Yes.
And I showed it off. You know, when I did a competition in America, the International Clarinet Association, Young Artists, and I came second. One person said, "Gee, you really, really sell the piece," and I think it was probably the Sudameister. But anyway, so here is brash young me, freshly, Bachelor of Music, first class honours, first intake, Australian National Academy of Music, AYO, QSO. And here I was, I thought, I was hot stuff. And, gee, did I get cut down quickly.
Yes.
But I was, and, for me, Weber, he's a show-off. And the Weber Grand Duo was a show-off both for the clarinetist and the pianist.
I have a wicked idea about this.
And
I would love to have the curtains parted, the curtains drawn, and the piano player starts. Wouldn't that be fun to do?
But anyway, so I was young, I was brash. As in previous videos, I used to move a lot, and I sold the heck out of this piece. I really went, there weren't adjudicators, but there were people who evaluated your public performance, and I was absolutely crushed to hear that. I played with sort of Hollywood glitz and glamour, and it gets worse, Hollywood glitz and glamour, which cheapened the performance.
Well, I think the nearest I can come to that is that I played Weber, concertino maybe, I forget, for a master's recital, and one of the examiners thought I overplayed it. Hey, we must have something in common.
We do.
This is romantic music. This is our equivalent of Liszt. How could we overplay Weber?
Well, you see, the thing is though, Weber is still a little bit classical.
All right.
But, and actually, if you played it on a clarinet that was around at the time, you would realise how hard it is, because I've got your 1840 clarinet,
yes.
And while I can play Lefebvre.
Yes. I wouldn't want to do Weber on it, you're right.
No, even though it was actually made after.
Yes, good point.
And actually, I heard a clarinetist do the Weber 2 on a classical clarinet with QSO. I don't think he had the G sharp key either, because your clarinet has 10 keys, whereas the other, the post Mozart clarinet probably only had about 5.
Yes.
1, 2. I don't think it had G sharp. Probably didn't have the B natural either. It just had the E flat and the B and the C.
Some of those comments and gradings can be really tough. As an adjudicator, the ones that I think, no, it's not cutting it, I will put, say, around top 70s, early 80s, and I'll put them to one side. The ones that are possibles, I'll keep to another side with a highlight against them. But then you get to the second last one, and you've got 6 could possibly win. And you're praying for somebody to stand up.
This is what we want.
Yes.
The tips as an adjudicator and as an examiner. What are you looking forward? What are you looking for?
Musicianship, and a quick fix way, and it's not hard, is to exaggerate the dynamics. I hate it when pieces start piano. All my students get that crossed out or covered up. And mezzo forte also, because your first impression has got to be, listen to me. Duh! I am the greatest. And then exaggerate. If you've got a higher piano, then your fortissimo has to be very fortissimo, and so on. So,
but not too far.
No, not so much
because I was in a master class in Boston, Massachusetts. And Philippe Père was on the panel with the masterclass, and I was playing the Rega First Sonata.
Yeah.
I love Rega. I've recorded all 3 of his sonatas, and I've also played his quintet.
She's a busy lady.
Oh yes. Available on my channel, of course.
When you're on Kathy's channel, hop over to mine.
But what Philippe said was that no, don't, because Rega goes from triple P to triple F. Yeah. But he said with the triple F, don't play the triple F, play it as the memory of the triple F.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So these are the tips, because I've had in my extensive experience of being on the other end, the competitor, and and doing the exam, I heard a couple of horror stories actually the other week from a clarinet player. There was two examples. One was a cellist in a string competition.
Yes.
And this particular cellist was probably playing a grade 3 piece.
Yes.
But they played it flawlessly, they played it effortlessly, they played it musically. It was absolutely beautiful. The problem was that they didn't win because there were a number of other students who were taught the Suzuki method and absolutely hacked at the strings. But
Yes.
and then there was another example where this clarinetist, I think 14-year-old clarinetist, again played absolutely beautifully, expressively, musically, and unfortunately lost to flashy fingers and quit.
Oh, that's sad. But the trouble is, it's only one competition, one exam.
One point in time.
One point in time. And the thing is, I often kind of almost laugh at myself and say, I know it's so difficult because am I going to give it to somebody who played lots of notes? When you've got it in a Stedford where it's all woodwind and brass all in together, for some reason or other, flautists can play more notes quicker than clarinetists can. And so they go lots of notes. And then a clarinetist might come in and play a challenging piece, but it's not as flashy. But often I can remember giving a first to somebody who played a simple piece with heart.
And what was interesting was when I re-entered the Clarinet Society competition sort of in my late 20s, having won it when I was 23. And they changed the rules the year after. But in this particular competition, I played clarinet and E-flat. And I played some Donizetti,
Florid.
Cavatina, or was it Rossini or something. I played them quite well. And then I played Carnival of Venice on E-flat clarinet.
On E-flat, okay.
On E-flat.
That would be fun.
And I totally agree. I totally agree with the judge, because she said, "Is it better for someone to play a less hard piece perfectly, or someone that plays an incredibly hard piece and it makes a lot of mistakes?"
Can I put in here, in both these books, I've written, please don't try to be perfect. That is the biggest single cause of nerves. Because nobody can be perfect this side of the grave. Aim for musical, to use your God-given gifts to the best of your abilities, to express what the composer wanted, all those sort of things.
And what was the book, the something guide to tennis or something?
Oh yes, the Inner Game of Tennis.
Inner Game of Tennis. I actually read the Inner Game of Music.
Yes.
And what really helps me, not just in music,
Yes.
but also in my driving exam actually, is that you just got to allow yourself to fail.
Yes, and not be so tough on ourselves.
Because like I could spend 45 minutes at a time on those 4 bars,
Yes.
and it won't happen in the I won't get it right in the performance. And actually I've allowed myself to fail. I don't want to be a professional musician. And what's interesting is
we don't have all that much repertoire to keep broad-based minds busy.
Well, I was playing. And also, there are better things to do than practicing 6 hours a day, especially when you live in sunny Queensland. and you've got Facebook, and so is allowing yourself to fail. So I recently played with Queensland Baroque on recorder Bach Brandenburg 4. And this is the original version in G major, which has to be the scariest start for a second recorder player in the. Well, actually, no, it's the second scariest. The Telemann the Telemann double concerto for recorder, and bassoon is scarier because you start on the top F, which is about the second top note. But the Bach Brandenburg starts with the second recorder playing, and it's above the staff, B, D, G in an arpeggio going up and down, and it goes. That has to be the scariest start ever. And I know
William Tell, but
articulation is a lot easier on a recorder. But having to hit
because there's a helicopter going on. See, you didn't notice that, did you?
No, because I was so focused. So, but anyway, having to hit the top. So, so you're starting here, dum bum beep. So you're going from a D to a top G, and at that speed. But there was this really hard bit, and I could have, and I practiced it and I practiced it, and I realised I probably wasn't going to get into the performance. And the interesting thing, when you record yourself, and that bit comes up, and it just, and this is why in my driving exam, I think the first thing I had to do was reverse park. I can't reverse park, and so once I didn't do that, I continued on with the rest of the exam. Relaxed it.
Whatever.
Relaxed it, and I passed.
What's to lose?
And I passed.
But
because
you gave yourself permission to fail. That's the difference.
That's the difference.
And the thing, I talk in both these books a lot. They're both half price on my website. I'm trying to clear stock because I've got more reasons. The thing is to give yourself permission to be yourself as you are in that point in time, and also, if necessary, to fail. But I have this concept of right and left brain that I talk a lot in my workshops and my books. And it's, sometimes I'll say to students before an exam or a competition, turn off the too hard button. It's a mythical button, a bit like, the Indian dot. Turn off your too hard button. And that immediately frees them to be what they are capable of being.
But please do not watch Hollywood movies about musicians. There's a recent there's a recent movie which is not PG. It's a horror movie. It's pretty good. It's called The Perfection. And if you make one mistake, I can't tell you on a PG program. But so please, do not, because having worked with professional musicians, and they tend not to record themselves or have any recordings of themselves because they don't want to be seen as making
and
mistakes.
I say to people, don't watch a recording of, in my case, presentations or performances too soon after, because you're still very sensitized.
Actually, I find that's the best thing. It's because I record all of my concerts, and I listen to the audio first, and actually I think, well, that actually wasn't so bad. Because you can sort of blow up in your mind. It's like, that bit that I practiced 10 billion gazillion times.
It actually worked.
And it didn't work. But when you think about it, no, the mistake you made, here.
Yes.
But this and this was spectacular. So what's the audience going to remember?
If you're in a performance, you go away remembering, oh my gosh, I made a mistake there, and you remember that, and yet you played 9,722 notes, which were fantastic, and you remember the 4 that weren't.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I say to people, you're in an exam, it used to be you'd see the pen scratching, now it's the computer with going on, and so you make a mistake and you think, oh, she's writing, mistake in bar 17, and it might be, oh, what beautiful expressive tone, what a wonderful shaping of melodic lines, smooth legato, beautiful sound. Why do we think the worst of ourselves?
It's interesting because I did a licentiate diploma with Trinity College London, and got, at that stage, was the highest ever mark
yes.
of 96%. And
That's quite true,
I probably would have got 98 or 99%,
Yes.
but the particular examiner didn't like Mitchell Lee's shirt. Thought Mitchell looked a bit shabby. I actually lost mark because of Mitchell's shirt. But
better not leave that in.
no, I think I will because I'm not naming the examiner. But that's actually what was written. That's actually what was written on an examination sheet. The thing is, I wasn't happy with a few of the pieces, but the guy said, even the performance was not without mistakes,
Yes.
but
Yes.
Uh-huh. And that particular exam was interesting because I had to actually take it twice because I got through most of it, and my last pièce de résistance was, of course, said Weber Grandeur Concertante,
Yes.
My party piece. And what happened during the original exam was one of my springs sprung.
Oh,
I think it was my
You
A
were working
to
it too hard.
I think it was my A to G sharp key, so I actually had to come back a few days later and finish it off. And he didn't even bother writing anything down because he was so impressed. This is my. He sat back like this, had a ball. And I go, although the next year I was surpassed by one of my mother-in-law's students who got a 97. Obviously he didn't have a helpness that wore a shabby shirt. Mitchell, I love you.
I'm going to fess up here. We have this filthy hot weather in November or whatever.
Oh, any time that's not in June, July and August is basically hot.
Oh no, actually it's very equable here in Brisbane.
No,
We
it's
just
not.
don't want to be performing November, December, January.
Oh,
Possibly
believe me, even March.
Anyway, this was, I think now I come to remember a Trinity Letters, and I was playing the Mozart, and that F that you finish on was so out of tune. And so I thought I would do a, as if to say, I'm trying to get it in tune. And the examiner didn't have a sense of humour. He didn't read my body language, he didn't understand. I just couldn't believe that. But I really want to stress one thing though. If you're doing exams, now I'm behind the desk, could you please make sure you know your scales? Because there is nothing worse to put the examiner's teeth on edge than to think you can stand on one foot and have another try at a chromatic scale and just look at it this way. There's a lot of notes in a chromatic scale. If you want another try or two, then that examiner is running late and is likely to be looking at their watch and going, I've got a plane to catch at 5:27, and that will not endear yourself. If you want an examiner to think you're the best, you might think a few seconds before you start, think the key signature, the leading note, etc. Take a moment, and I tell my students, if you get F sharp minor melodic, which you didn't want to play, or G sharp minor melodic, take a moment to think, play twice as loud equals conviction, and even twice as slow equals think time, but also the adrenaline's pumping, we're probably thinking faster than we need. If you take it slower, you may not be as slow as you think. And it's better to have tick, 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 and the comment at the bottom, scales were accurate but could have been faster. And that's one of my hot tips.